Hey, what's going on? Today is February 21st, and you are listening and watching the Daily AI Show live. And today is Wednesday, so that means that we are going to be talking about all the AI news we think, and when I say we, I mean Beth, Andy, Junmi, and I'm Brian. What we sort of think is the the most interesting stuff to come out last week. And as always, we don't usually know, with rare instance, exception, we don't know what everybody else is going to share. So the fun part about this show is that we are learning along with you guys. I'm sure there'll be some overlap along the way. But that's what we're doing today. So Andy was just saying before we went live, and I told him he's going to get me riled up, that we should lead with, and it's true, I didn't have it on my list, but we should talk about it, which is that from my experience, and then there was a lot on Twitter yesterday, X, talking about how ChatGPT just kind of went off its rocker. And there was a lot of screen grabs of like gibberish. I was saying it reminded me of playing in the playground, where you can adjust temperature. And once you get up to like a 1.2, 1.3 on the scale, you start getting a real answer, but then it always like sort of dissolves into gibberish and a whole bunch of crazy. And you could always play around with that. It reminds me of that. My experience yesterday, but also multiple, like in the last 2 weeks, it's been pretty horrible for me. I was not getting it to do things that it had done 100 times previously, over 100 times previously, using custom GPTs. It does seem to center a little bit around document uploads. There definitely seems to be a push in that area where I'm having more trouble when it has to do with looking at a document, but not only there. I've looked at other areas. So I don't know. Have you guys also been feeling the ChatGPT burn in the last couple of days here?
I have felt it, but not to the extent that you have. For me, it was a little more because I'm building new things, right? I'm not going back to something that I expect to work consistently each time. And yeah, I sort of had that experience of like, is this really how good you are? Right? Like, no. Yeah.
What's curious to me is the variability, because it seems like not so long ago, maybe even last week, someone said on this show that ChatGPT was like performing brilliantly, like it was doing things that were really amazing. And now we've got gibberish. So I'm very curious about what the factors are which drive that. One of the things that's important to understand is that each one of these services runs off of big data centers that are filled with racks and racks of GPUs, right? So there's the possibility that the systems, when they get overloaded, if those data centers aren't capable of maintaining the intense loads. So yesterday, the day before, early part of the week, maybe there's a periodic performance variation that we're not seeing or seeing reported. I don't know, but it's a little confusing to me that there would be such a range, a variability, ranging from people saying, "Wow, ChatGPT 4 Turbo was really performing well on instructions and coming up with really brilliant answers." I've heard mentioned that Gemini is really fast, and that can be a function of low load and very large data centers being provided by Google, right? So you give them that combination, and there's going to be a reduction in latency, which is one of the real annoyances of any service that you're using that's a software as a service. So you put in your question, and it's grinding away, thinking, and then you've seen ChatGPT, print out its response, with hesitations, right? It's kind of doing it in real time. And other systems wait until they have the whole package ready to deliver and then dump it on you. But there's always a question of latency. So performance is going to be a big issue. And one of the things that I want to talk about later, I don't want to take the stage here too long, but it has to do with a performance acceleration that's happening on the architecture and hardware side. And I'm sure you guys have included Grok in that. But I want to talk about a couple of other developments.
And I just want to jump in.
I definitely want to talk about.
I want to jump in the software as a service because we talk about SaaS and we understand software. And you guys have heard this a million times, but I think it's important to jump in and say it. This is not software. This is large language model, and it is doing things that we can't go in and tinker with the code, right? There isn't like, oh, wow, the temperature got turned up somewhere. So we can go in and look at the code and see where the line is that turned the temperature up.
Quote unquote broke. Yeah.
Right. So I it's more complicated than that.
But let's simplify it by saying there is software. The software that OpenAI uses is called Triton. And that's what's running the large language model and managing the whole process. And then there's hardware. And the big player out there in hardware is NVIDIA and their S100 chip. That's like the Nexus Ultra at the moment, but we'll talk about some chip developments and architectures that include a combination of software and hardware, and particularly software that's aware of what the hardware is in order to optimize the process.
Right. But if we look back on what was happening over near the holidays, right? December, you found that you could tell it that it's May and you got a better result. Right. So that's not a line in a code that you can go in, but it is a trick that you can employ. And who knows, maybe the software, maybe somebody did just put in like your average temperature is this or whatever it is. But this is a little bit of a different game. Yeah.
Well, the last I want to say on that too is, Beth, you and I used to, when we taught a class on this, we used to talk about prompt drift, and it is important to remember both from the consulting side as well as the builder side. I'll say from the builder side, prompt drift is when your prompts start performing worse than they did. Now, worse is it's a flexible word because worse could be as in the model has changed. That's what we're suspecting has happened at OpenAI. It could actually just be volume and usage, but it also could be literally that OpenAI is constantly making updates and changes to their however they build their things with LLMs, and that is having downstream effects. Also, though, users, prompt drift can also refer to the users and how we change as humans in writing prompts and affecting our outcomes. And so things that inherently we can blame on a LLM or the prompt may actually be how the users have shifted and changed, because all of our folks are learning along the way as well. From the consultancy side of things, I was just saying, like, I'm literally launching 10 and it will be soon 15 custom GPTs that are focused on sales through Scaled, like today, right? We've been building these. I've been building these for a while, and it's definitely got me nervous because I guarantee you I'm going to have conversations with people who say it worked yesterday and it's not working today. Well, who are they going to come talk to? Me, because they would expect me to be able to go in and fix the code. Now, there may be ways I can go into the language and I will be able to tweak sometimes if I see it happen again and again. I obviously will make changes to the way the instructions are written, or I'll try this word or that word. That's going to be an ongoing process. It's the reason our custom GPTs have a monthly subscription. They're not a one-time cost. And that's a hard thing that we have to teach and let people understand, is that you're paying for us to go in and continuously make changes and updates and try to get ahead of it. But it is a little bit like whack-a-mole. And some days the thing that I sold you may just perform worse than yesterday. And there's literally nothing I can do that as the provider. It's a frustrating place to be. And there's a lot of consultancies and agencies who are doing these things where that is part of the deal. That's part of the deal. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of bring that up. That's not necessarily news, but it's a lot going on. Okay, let me share my screen really quick because Andy, you just mentioned the company that I wanted to bring up. And since we're talking about latency and things like that, we might as well stay on a little bit of the topic. So I'm just going to pull up my screen real quick. You mentioned Grok. I assume it's Grok, Groq. It also sounds very similar to what Elon Musk put out. So but Grok, Groq, has been around longer. It says since 2016. Right. So they get dibs on the name, I guess, but it's differently spelled as well. They talk about their LPU, their LPU inference engine, and essentially, I'll just kind of their language processing unit. Sorry, I was trying to remember what it meant. Basically, they're trying to solve the problem of low latency. In other words, how quickly are you getting your answer back? And so you can actually play with it right now. going to grok.com, you can play with it. It's using the Mixtral model. You can also use a Llama model. And they're like, hey, before this screen that you see, they're like, hey, try something about history. So I was like, cool. Okay. Compare and contrast the events of the Boston Tea Party with the Stamp Act of 1765. I was just trying to come up with things off the top of my head. And it tells you that it came back and did 521.94 tokens per second. As a comparison, ChatGPT does 40 tokens per second.
Right.
Massive difference. And end time here, it says it took 12.76 seconds, and it tells you the model that it was using. And I read through the answer, and to the best of my knowledge from being in high school, I believe this is correct. It gave me a pretty good answer, but don't quote me. I would obviously have to go check this. You can see that there's no citations on here, so you definitely have to check. No high school or middle school students should be writing papers on this directly off of this. But it was very fast and is very detailed, and it was like bing, and it was done. So this is a huge deal. And I don't know, Andy, do you want to add to this at all? Because I know you were going to bring it up as well.
So Grok has been around for a while. That they originally announced this LPU, or language processing unit chip, combined with another LLM, an LLM that's been designed to work with that specific hardware way back in September, I think. So it's not exactly news, but they basically come out, in a larger launch, in effect. Their target customer are data centers. I talked about that earlier, like data centers that are operating LLMs. They're looking to add their chips and their LLM architecture to that as a service provision to people who are fielding large language models. The beauty of this thing is that because it's so much faster, it reduces the energy load, which is a big issue for everybody here. We don't want to, compute our way to acceleration of climate change, for example. So this kind of advance, which will, I hope, be matched by NVIDIA and AMD and other chip manufacturers in concert with LLM developers, will rapidly improve the efficiency and performance, reducing latency. Answers will come back faster, and it'll take less energy to do that.
So
that's what I was going to ask you about, Andy, is it doesn't really say it on their page. And I thought, I find that interesting that they don't talk about the energy demands. So that's what I thought. And so it's good to hear you say that, because I thought, oh, wow, you would think that would almost be like the top thing on their page. Like, we use less energy. Like, our proprietary model uses less energy for something that's increasing demand. So that you were thinking exactly what I was thinking.
So just jumping on that, Penn State engineers, or maybe just Penn engineers, have announced a new chip that uses light. And by using light, Junmi knows this. So do you want to take over describing this?
Well, no, go continue. Sorry.
By using light is the fastest way that we can travel, and it is much less energy intensive. So it's another advancement that does what Grok does, right? Basically, it's going after speed and lowering the energy requirements to be able to do it. Yeah. And I don't know that this is in. I don't see anything that says that this is deployed yet. Like, I don't think you can go to a .com and play with it, but it's very interesting, and it's not biomimicry the way we were talking about before, but it is like adjacent, right? It is using natural processes rather than a blunt force, like how much rare earth mineral can we shove in a small head of a pin.
A couple other points about Grok that have occurred to me since we started talking about it. One of them is that this is we've been using GPUs, or graphics processing units, which have been around for a long time to run video games. That's what they were designed for. But it just turns out that the code for large language models runs really well on GPUs, or it needs the speed of GPUs to do that. And so this is the first time that a chip has been designed expressly for language processing.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you, it's a foregone conclusion in my mind that every chip maker has one of these in the pipeline, right?
Yeah.
Provide these two things. So the other thing is that this has a lot of import to the mounting of a model and the training of a model. So one of the quotes about this from Grok is that the GPU takes a long time to mount a 7 billion parameter model. It takes up to 6 months to process the training for a 7 billion parameter model. Okay, a lot of hand optimization that's going on in that process. The LPU inference engine pair, that can be putting that same parameter model up in 1 week.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah. Wow.
It's a little bit of a jump, a little bit of a difference there. Yeah, I'm excited about this. It's probably out of all the news this week, and God knows, I mean, Jimmy's going to talk about one that sort of ruled the airwaves. But this is exciting to me because this is solving a real world bottleneck that's only going to get worse. So it's exciting on the news of, because I'm just because this is on language models, and then we can jump off to other topics. I just thought I would bring this up as well. It's a quick one. Gemini can now run Python script in its chat, so you can actually see that. If you were looking at my screen, we'll go past that. We'll just do something easy like this little Python script here, which is literally print what I'm about to say, and then I can run it and it'll actually run that Python script. I find this to be really, really cool. I'm not a coder by any means, but I just think it's cool that it's you're able to do things like this, because I do think there's some really good use cases where this is going to save people time from having to pull it out of the chat window into something like a what is it, Beth? Not Google Data Studio, but what's it called where you run what's it called where you run the Google on the cloud?
Google AI Studio.
Is it? I thought I had it wrong. But anyway, being able to do simple Python code inside here, this is probably not going to solve a whole bunch of stuff for all coders, especially if they're highly advanced in coding. But for somebody like me who's kind of just poking around and needs simple solutions, to be able to test it and run it in Thread, I think is super, super cool. And I thought I had one more that was on LLM, but maybe not. Oh, this one really quick. Andy Karpathy, or I'm sorry, not Andy. Andre, I think it's
Andy Karpathy. Our buddy.
Andre Karpathy.
It's our buddy. Yeah. These are the people we know. He's the gentleman that just left. He was one of the founders of OpenAI. He just left. There was just an announcement about this. And he has this 2-hour plus YouTube video that he just put out about tokenization. I've only poked around on it. I'm going to go back and watch the whole thing, maybe on 1.5 speed, but I'm definitely going to go back and watch it. If you want to nerd out on tokenization and the problems with it and why it's a problem and what he thinks are the solutions, but we don't have, it's a great video. It's like, I can't wait to go back and watch it. And I think it's super cool that he continues to put out content like this. It's not for everybody, but this was literally put out yesterday, and it has already 80,000 views on it. So clearly there are people who want to watch and learn about tokenization. Tokenization, for those that maybe not know, is that it's basically how the LLMs work. There's two processes. You got to take the words and turn them into tokens, and then take the tokens and turn them back into responses. That's an oversimplification, but just that's the process, and it's a big part of all these language models and how they work. And he's pretty funny in talking about how eternal glory goes to the person who figures out how to get that out of the system. So I thought that was really cool. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. But
let me just add a quick comment that I learned from that announcement about Andre.
I know. I think so.
Karpathy, that we all can agree on that. Tokenization is different from chunking. So tokenization is the sort of initial step that takes words or segments of words and turns them into numerical representations. Chunking actually tries to look at sequences of words and phrases that are semantically meaningful. And so that's I thought those were interchangeable before. But and I haven't watched his show. I'm gonna go look at the 2-hour show when I find 2 hours free to do that. Summarize that for us, Brett.
Nice.
For anybody that wants to go play with the tool he uses, it's called the Tick Tokenizer. Okay, it looks like TikTok. It's TikTokenizer. He talks about it in the video, whatever. But that's literally where you can see what Andy was just talking about, which is you can type in words and then watch the numerical reference of what that looks like in pieces. So you can actually watch sentences be broken down. He shows you what happens if you add a space and how that messes everything up. You know, all the different things. So anyway, if you're interested in tokenization, even if you didn't know what it was, you're thinking, now I do.
His thesis really is that we should move past tokenization. Let's find a method that doesn't require, doing those splits of words.
So we're 20 minutes in and we have not talked about the news that is just over and over and over. Go Junmi.
Okay. All right. Sky's the limit with OpenAI's Sora. Sorry, I was just chomping at the bit to talk about this story.
It's a big
just
one.
Like, okay, guys, I like all this news and everything. Let me talk about Sora. No. All right. So if you don't know, I got a media background, and I really love what AI has been making inroads into with video. And we've talked about things like Runway ML and other tools and like those kinds of things. But OpenAI last week just drops a bomb on us with Sora, which is amazing.
We think.
For our non-video watchers, please head over to OpenAI, look up Sora, look at all of their videos that they're showing. But to give a quick overview, essentially Sora is their new model that's specifically text to video. All right. And so what we've seen so far is about 4 seconds, or models that can generate about 4 seconds of movement or motion, taking a text or image base and converting it into movement, right? We've covered Runway ML's motion brush, where you can identify a section of an image to provide motion, such like clouds or waves and things like that. But with Sora, you can put in a simple phrase and it will generate a full video for you. So I'm going to go ahead and try and present one of my tabs here so we can take a quick look. Turn off the audio because we don't need that. All right. So I'm sure anyone who knows what's going on or heard over the last few weeks from all of their other AI news sources, and they've seen this image. This is essentially what is this? A 2-3 sentence prompt?
So the image is of a stylish woman walking down a Tokyo street filled with warm, glowing neon and animated city signage. So if you just look up Sora, you're going to see this image. But I just want to be clear.
Right, and I apologize to our audio only listeners. This is a visual story, but essentially,
which is one of the limitations, by the way, of Sora, which is it's always silent. There's no sound track that's associated.
Correct. But
11 Labs is going to offer, audio.
Exactly. That is a companion story where 11 Labs is offering sound effects based upon the imagery that you are feeding it. So that, with those two combined, you essentially can create an entire scene. Like the scene we're looking at right now of the woman walking down a Tokyo street, that's about a minute long.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a minute of video. That is a huge jump over the 4-second segments that we've been seeing in other models or other offerings.
And for those of you who can't see it, it's photorealistic.
Yeah, I would know it was AI. There's no way I would know. Well, maybe her walking a little bit right there, but not her face.
Right, and that's something to point out.
You walking toward us. Nobody's walking the other way.
I think the a key point here is the quality of the generative video is such to a level where it requires multiple passes, multiple views to identify what might be off, right? And they OpenAI's well, props to them, is they are clearly want to make sure that they don't get Googled for announcing this new product. They're very clear in saying this is not edited. This is 100% just from these prompts. There's been no zhuzhing
Right.
of the or juicing of the imagery. So I give them props for that.
Sam Altman was taking requests on X
Yeah.
of prompts and then
Right.
coming back and giving the video. And I think that was part of that too. Like, he's like, yeah, tell me what the prompt is. And then he would come back and then you would see him go like, oh, here's a better version of it. So I think there was a lot of that transparency that they wanted to make sure. So they didn't, they didn't get Googled,
Well,
which I love.
I would want to too, because this is such an amazing jump forward in this particular arena as well.
So let me add
that I want to make sure nobody thinks that it's it's been faked in any way. I think
generated imagery, one of the hardest things to do is reflection off of surfaces. Now imagine doing reflection, which is in this video. It says, it's a damp and reflective street. And so the image includes reflection from all the lights above as the camera is moving and it's maintaining the perspective correctly. It's not amazing. It's astounding.
Right.
We've seen amazing stuff before.
And if you've played with any of this, like the people don't morph into each other. The world view that you are seeing remains consistent as the camera moves. There's a thing where a guy walks behind a column, and if you've played with AI video at all, you know that he would morph into the column. That does not happen. He actually walks behind it. Right.
Right. Right. Now for the disappointing news. And that is, it's not open for testing.
Right.
There is no playground. There is no special download that you can do. Unfortunately, it's only been released to some selective testers, just so that they can, I assume, just generate some buzz and verify the product itself. Hopefully, we will see. We will see that option soon, and I can't wait until I can get my hands on it. And so, if anyone at OpenAI happens to come across our show, please put me on your alpha test list. I would love to mess around with this.
Well, look,
I think it's actively being red teamed right now before it goes out to But
and
then creatives get it. So
ChatGPT.
What?
We're going to see this inside of ChatGPT before the end of the year. I think it's going to cost more. I think this is where you're going to see a higher level tier. You're going to move from the 20. I do, because this is a different level of processing. It's not just one Dolly image. This is whatever. And I think you might pay by how long of a video you want and things like that. I cannot see this coming in at the $20 mark. But for those who are looking to create, astounding videos, this is the new benchmark that everybody else will have to play by. If in fact, when it goes live and people can play with it, they are getting these type of results. Now we're looking at the same girl still walking. Any of the other ones that they showed as well. They showed the car going down the hill. This one that you're showing on, it's just like it's not a Jeep, but it's like a car going down a mountain pass, essentially. Really, really well done as well. If that took 5, 6, or 7 different attempts to get this level, obviously, I don't know that it'd be necessarily pushback. That will change it though, because how long does it take to get something of this quality? Is it sort of random? All those kind of things. But look, we're going to see this inside of ChatGPT within the year, I believe. If they're showing this in February, you'll be playing with it in your chat feed in December, or sooner.
And one quick update that I learned today was apparently you can also do collages. So one of the OpenAI folks had posted on X about you can put into your prompt to put together a collage of various videos. So we'll should see how that tests out. I haven't checked to see if the OpenAI teams are still accepting requests for Sora generations, but I hope they still offer that so that people can get more time with the product until they release it. But that's my major story. There's a few other ones tied with like the pickaxe and shovel folks, like NVIDIA in their new GTC 2024 conference, which is going to be gigantic, and they've got speakers from everywhere: Meta, OpenAI, Google, and and then there's a couple other ones. Oh, speaking to like Andy, what you were talking about, the LPU, you and Brian were talking about Grok there. Microsoft is building out server cards that will improve performance for existing GPUs like NVIDIA's, but also for their new Maya chips. So we're looking at Microsoft moving to a little more independency as well. So you can see in the pickaxe and shovel department, we're seeing a lot of movement towards building out infrastructure, and we talked about this in previous shows where Sam Altman's been asking for that. That's his big prediction is we need infrastructure, more chips, new technologies, and hopefully all of those ventures work out really well.
So in like who asked for this kind of news? Elon was interviewed on a space thing and dropped that he's in talks, X is in talks with Midjourney for a partnership. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we gotta say, so it's news that Elon said it. That does not mean it's true. But hey, and it would instantly, the reason that is relevant for the reason that it's relevant for all kinds of reasons is that Midjourney is the most used image generator, and it would instantly become by having image generation as a part of X or a part of his Grok with a K, that would be a big leap for both of those. Right.
In the same vein of mysterious AI news, Reddit just made a $60 million a year deal to have all of their data, especially the user-generated data, the user-generated content, to be incorporated in somebody's training library. That's the only thing nobody knows is who is it.
No.
Who would pull off a shady deal?
Sarcastic now. Like, I don't know. I don't know that I want training data. I know it already is on Reddit and stuff, but I don't know that that's the future I'm looking for. Are Reddit power users being the ones that are dictating how my responses are going to come back? Yeah.
Well, so there's a conversation.
I think that's really in line with Grok with a K. I'm just saying. I am hypothesizing. There is no actual information here, but I mean, who else would pay $60 million a year when OpenAI is offering other organizations $6 million a year for their data and doesn't want anybody to know?
Don't
is trying to hyper advance their own AI offering. I'm just saying. Here, I'll take off my.
Don't rule out Apple, right? Like Apple has
okay, maybe,
and is paying for some stuff. Absolutely. But it is also in the ever ongoing story of user data being monetized by the platform that the users are participating on. It does not trickle down, even like $1.25,
without any form of compensation or anything like or compensation. Yeah, without any compensation or anything like that. Yeah.
In a quick Elon Musk news, but real quick, Neuralink, they announced a little while ago that they had done their first successful human implant of the Neuralink, and there was just he mentioned that that individual, we don't know who it is, can now move a mouse pointer around a screen just through their thoughts. So this is like extremely encouraging, obviously, for people with impairments and different inabilities, to perhaps have a new way of communicating. So very, very exciting stuff there. Whatever you might think about, you know, is this the start of cyborgs and yada, 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 and all that stuff. But I think, look, there's a lot that can be beneficial from this. So pretty exciting stuff. We'll have to wait to hear more on that, but that was announced as well.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Anything else? I mean, I'll put it up on my screen really quick. This is a funny one. Will Smith was poking fun at himself for his video. So talking about Sora and stuff,
right.
There was a video from like a year ago, and they were using it on X as well to compare Sora, which is insane, to where video creation was a year ago. And it's this if you can see on the screen, it was this crazy video of like, it's Will Smith eating spaghetti, and it looks insane because it's just like, it's not great, right? And so he parodied it himself, and I'll just play a little bit of it here.
What's happening? What's happening?
The upper one is the AI, and the lower one is Will Smith like parrying himself. The last part here is like, and then it's just him laughing about it. I look, I thought it was. I thought it was cool that he, you know, was nodding his cap at, like, you know, for whatever reason, that was a thing from a year ago. But it also shows, just like the person on X who mentioned it, I don't remember who it was, like just how far this has come. When you look at something like Sora, even if it's not publicly available yet, and you just look at a year ago, I mean, it's Will Smith eating spaghetti, and it's like, you know, spaghetti's hitting him from the side. It just looks ridiculous, morphing and all the other crazy stuff that would happen with it. So I thought that was pretty cool. The only other thing I had was just Opus Clip, which we I think we used, right, Jimmy, or we were going to use. So Opus Clip came out what they call 3.0. Looks promising. Looks like you can do even more with video clip editing, which we all need. We need it to be faster, easier. We're producing content 5 days a week. You know, we have serious needs in this area, and we're always looking for more AI solutions that help us watch this video, watch this 35-minute video at this point, and break it down, find us the highlights, chunk it up for us, make it really, really easy for editing, and send it out to other platforms. And so Opus is one of many companies that is working towards that and trying to make it truly hands-off. Jimmy, I think you would say, no, it's not there yet, but these are like incremental steps. Yeah, incremental steps towards that, where you definitely will be able to have AI, quote unquote, watch the video. Of course, that's not what's happening, but to our perception, that's what's happening, and be able to understand, interpret it, and break it up into sequences that can either be used as shorts, clips, whatever the case may be. So that was just one other one. Anything we didn't get to for rapid fire here?
Yeah, a couple rapid fire. In the shovels department again, SoftBank of Japan, they are raising $100 billion to start their new AI chip venture. So we're looking at chip development overseas as well, which would probably be a good comment for tomorrow's show regarding AI dominance by the US. Also, we've got a new company called Dilly that wants to do due diligence, but use AI to provide you that part of your process. I've also got, Google also announced a couple of new models that they dropped. Gemma 2B and 7B. This is on the smaller side of things. They say it's inspired by Gemini, but they haven't released an official paper on it. So we don't know the ins and outs of it. But I assume because their 2B and 7B are representative of its 7 billion, 2 billion, that it's meant for running on smaller hardware or less memory and things like that. So this is probably where these are the models that may be initial layer or interaction models on any new Google hardware, maybe their phone, things like that. And we've seen Gemini Nano is supposed to kind of take that place too. So we'll see how that develops. Gemini 1.5
was also announced and dropped.
Oh, that's right.
And on our Gemini show, we primarily talked about Ultra and Advanced. 1.5 is the Pro version model, but more, right? It's the 0.5 of the 1.0. And it can have a million token context window, and there have been a lot of people who've gotten access to it, Twitter influencers, running it through its paces, and it does seem like within that million token window you can, like, it's a game changer. We've seen large windows where really it just remembers the beginning and the end and maybe some stuff in the middle. There have been multiple people doing multiple different kinds of tests showing that there's some real stuff in this. So that's exciting. It's not available to everybody, but it is a little more available than Sora, so it's not just people suggesting that someone run tests. It's open for some people to run tests.
Right.
All right, we're kind of there. I don't think we got to everything, Andy. I feel like we didn't get to half of probably what you wanted to say. But we will have maybe another opportunity on Friday because it's our, sort of our recap 2-week recap show. Not really a new show, but technically it counts by asterisks. If Andy came in and said I have more to add from Wednesday, so we can always touch on it on our Friday show. Like Beth mentioned, tomorrow we're talking about, U.S. dominance in AI. Is this a thing? Is it only growing? What does France have to say about that with Mixtral and other things that are going on? NVIDIA and so on and so forth. So that will be tomorrow's conversation. But yeah, Andy, sorry, were you about to say something?
No, just that, if you measure it just in terms of dollars invested by country, then, I think we're blowing the rest of the world away. Although you just don't know how much China is really investing in all of this.
Right.
So.
True.
Well, that'll be tomorrow's show.
Friday show.
Yeah. We're gonna hit it all. Don't worry. We're gonna hit everything the next week, the next 2 days. We're gonna cover it all. Thanks to everybody from hanging out. This is a fun show. Lots of news this week. It was just more than we could possibly cover. So we'll keep at it. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, bye.
Aloha.